I sought someone intuitively that had also lost their mom. It was really enlightening and helpful. And it was really nice to be able to not just talk about my mom, but learn that I could do that out in the world. Like I didn't have to keep my grief a secret.
I just want to focus on your dad for a minute and also just acknowledge, losing your mother very suddenly and that like sudden loss versus, if you will, watching a cognitive decline. Those two things are very different. There's so much nuance that we could get into here.
January 27 was just the 1 year anniversary of his death. And what I've been thinking about all year are the differences that even though he had memory loss, there were a lot of goodbyes. He lived with memory loss for about 10 years, and the 4 kids were his main caretakers, my siblings and I.
Welcome to the Life with Grief podcast. I'm your host, grief and soul purpose coach, and fellow griever, Tara Accardo. Barri, welcome to Life with Grief. I am so excited to have this conversation with you today. We already started our conversation prior to even like officially recording. I was like, no, wait, we gotta like say you're already giving us so much, and I'm so grateful for you. And it's crazy. I mean, I'm connected with so many wonderful people in this griefy world, if you will, and fellow grief workers, healers, if you will. But I really hadn't connected with you until a very special project that you and I are both a part of late last year. It was like November 2025 now, and more of that to come. That is coming out this year. Spoiler alert. I got Grant's permission. We can spill it. We're going to be in a documentary together, and I cannot wait for that to release. But I don't know. I just felt such a kinship with you just immediately that day. You just have such a beautiful energy. But it was actually, you know what? This is going to sound funny for me to say. I almost weirdly liked that I kind of didn't know your story or know as much of it going into it, because that happened to a couple people in that group setting, because I was learning that about you in the moment, and probably vice versa too. And it just makes those moments so much more raw and real and powerful. But what I will say too is in those moments, gosh, I related to you on so many of the things you said, fellow mom and now dad loss as well. I know we can both empathize with that and have both walked that path. And yeah, I just knew we had to talk. That was, clear, but we're finally getting to do it. So welcome.
I love this. I felt the same about that day when you just sort of have that kinship where you can hear yourself and other people's stories and vice versa. I always say, like, that's what I love about leaning into group work too. I think,
Oh God. Yeah.
the beauty of that is I always say it's a wisdom exchange, that somebody hears something else that you've said and suddenly you're not alone in your story. And
just like that. Yeah.
for so long, I really was. In 1993, when my mom died, there wasn't
That's a different time.
soul that was really saying grief or grieving unless you really weren't functioning. And I wasn't, as I always say, the grown-ups in the room were like all going back to work and it was business as usual. And so I sort of took my cue from them. I owned a PR agency at the time. I worked in fashion and beauty, and back I went to work. And it was so confounding and confusing to me that the most important person, the most important attachment in my whole world was gone, and a sudden loss. She had a brain aneurysm on a regular old Thursday at the beach. And
oh my God.
Yeah. And no one said, like, you might want to talk to somebody.
Yeah. That wasn't a thing back then.
There was just such a mystery to me that this can't be right. That's sort of what my insides said. And over time, I met a few motherless daughters. Then I started to meet them wherever I went. I was kind of like, this feels like I'm supposed to be meeting these
very
women.
Serendipitous, isn't that?
Yeah. And that our stories, as different as they were, felt so alike and so relatable. And then, thank goodness, somewhere around a year later after she died, Hope Edelman's book, Motherless Daughters, came out. there I was all over the pages of the women that she had interviewed. And also, I could look at my future a little bit. It was like women turning the age their mom was at the time
Yeah.
of loss, and like all these things that I hadn't really clocked that were ahead for me. And I would say I didn't seek any formal help until I was pregnant with my first daughter. And then I was like, oh shit, we are about to become a motherless mother. And that
Oh,
one,
I feel that.
it really sent me. It really became like my raised my hand. I also wanted to have like a healthy pregnancy and not be like the sad mom having a baby. I wanted her to be like happy in my body
Yeah.
and do all the good things. And I sought someone intuitively that had also lost their mom. I don't know what led me to think that, there really wasn't a like buzz of grief informed therapists or grief coach or anything like that. And
Right.
I found Bonnie, and it was really enlightening and helpful. And it was really nice to be able to not just talk about my mom, but learn that I could do that out in the world. Like I didn't have to keep my grief a secret,
Yeah.
and it didn't have to be quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt so validating. And it was in that time that I felt there's got to be a way that we can, I'm a PR girl. I was like, there's
Mhm.
got to be better PR for grief.
I
We got
love that so
like,
much.
yeah. I wrote like a hypothetical essay once about if I were the PR person for grief, like sitting down at Joe's Coffee and like making our plan for the month
I'm
about
obsessed.
how we would handle it, and what posts. And because it was really, I really felt that way. Like if
Yeah.
we all leaned in, if we all talked about it, if we all opened the door, like how great would that be if we all
Right.
wore what ails us right on our shirt,
Yeah.
or on our Starbucks cup or something. I'd be like, we would meet each other with so much humanity and humility and kindness. And we are all, I just always assume that we are all going through something when we meet
Yes.
one another, right?
Absolutely. And or you don't know
You
more
don't
than
know.
and you can't, I mean, oh God. And in this age of social media, especially, like it is so cliche, but it's so true that you genuinely do not know
Don't
what
know.
is going on beyond the
Yeah.
surface and what people are struggling with day to day.
Yeah. And so I started a peer group at my yoga studio, and it was really around Mother's Day, which became like my first conflicting holiday, where
Yeah. Yeah.
my family wanted to celebrate me. And I was like, this is the worst ever day, like
Oh,
the worst.
yeah.
So I was like, what if we got together on Saturday? I felt like it was like taking back the night. Like, what if we got together on Saturday? So then
Yeah.
Sunday of Mother's Day, they can celebrate me. But on Saturday, I have done some grief tending and leaned in
Yes.
and found my tears and been with my people. And I joined a yoga friend, and she led a practice, and then I led some writing. And at the time, I was a reporter at the Chicago Tribune. I'd moved from New York, away from the fashion industry, away from all of my family, had this baby in the middle of I don't know anybody, and really felt like I needed that connection for myself.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my God. Okay. We gotta take a step back. There's so much in there that I want to dig into. And then we have your sweet dad to talk about too. So what I and this is so interesting because you lost your mom, it was 1993, correct?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
27.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's about the age I was as well when I lost mine. I think I was like 27, 20. Very pivotal years, mind you. Like
And I think the
any
world
ages, but
says,
like
yeah, but I think the world, it's kind of it was interesting because fast forward, I've now had the unbelievable opportunity to work alongside Hope at a motherless daughters retreat and co-lead with her. And I think the most beautiful thing that she shared was there's sort of this age group that's like kind of in the middle, that we're not
Mhm.
like young, or we're not quite older, but it's
Yeah.
like this middle. And the world treated me as a grown up. And I think there was,
Oh my
I mean,
God, same.
I think you need your mom at every age. I would say
Yes, I say
that.
that all the time. But like
Yeah,
late 20s, you really do need your mom.
you
Like becoming a
do.
mother too, that is a whole nother chapter we could talk about. But like I just want to mention I empathize with that so much. I've talked about that on this podcast as well. And our daughter literally just turned 2. So we're like, still in
Well,
the new-ish stages,
mine
but
turned the age, mine turned the age I was when I lost my mom. And that wasn't, again, it wasn't like one of those days that was really like on my bingo card for being a griefy day.
yeah.
And she actually said, remind me how old you were when Grandma Ellen died. And it's so funny because my mom was never a grandma, but we affectionately call her Grandma Ellen.
Yeah.
One of the ways we remember her. But
Love
my
that.
daughter was really the one that brought it to my attention. And I was like, oh my
That's
goodness.
humbling.
It really was. It was so
Yeah.
sweet, but she kept reminding me the whole year, like, can you imagine if I couldn't call you? Can you imagine if, isn't this dinner fun? It's so nice. Can you imagine if you couldn't come to my music event, fill in the blank? Like, she's a singer-songwriter. And she was like,
Wow.
I just can't imagine not
Hmm.
being able to have you.
Yeah.
And it really was so validating and felt like it gave me a lot of permission. And then when
Yeah.
she turned 28, we spent the day together and we, I was so sad and I couldn't figure out why.
Mm.
And I said to her, I think it's because I don't really know anything about parenting after this. I
Wow.
wasn't
That's
parenting.
deep, Barry. Oh my God.
And so
Yeah.
I was like, all right, we're in it together.
Oh, and what a bond. As if the mother-daughter bond is not powerful and beautiful enough. It's
Yeah,
like we're
I got it
really
back.
both traversing this
I got it back.
together.
I got back that mother-daughter thing
Yeah.
times two, which is really just so lovely. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, that's so powerful. And I know there was so much, however you want to call it, and I do believe this is continuous healing
Yeah.
between when you lost your mom and that moment, for example.
Yeah.
So take me back through that a little bit. I mean, you've given us a kind of a good idea of like what has helped you. So it definitely sounds like groups and like really finding your people, so to speak.
I didn't have a group. I made one because
All
I
right, you
thought this would have been so great for me. I
yeah.
didn't find any resources at all. And so I just thought I'll open a door where there isn't one. And it was sort of like that editor in me that was like, we'll figure this out. It was like finding
Yeah.
the location for a photo shoot. Like
Yeah.
we'll just figure this out.
Yeah.
And I had such a beautiful community, and I had finished my teacher training and was it was a safe place where the community really showed up for one another when
Mhm.
something was celebratory or somebody needed support. And so
I
I
like
thought
this. Yeah.
these people will get it. And so
Yeah.
it was a really lovely place to do it. But at the end of that training, and after one of the first events, we had to make something called a sankalpa, which is kind of like a resolution, but you create it. It's like in line with your dharma and your highest self, and you create a statement that's already as if it's already happened. So
Yeah.
let's say, I remember there was someone in my group. She was like a massage therapist, and she's like, I will have a new car that is reliable so that I can get to my in-home appointments. And the entire workshop went by. And at the end, I was like so good and pissed because I didn't have one.
Mm.
And mine ended up being that I would create the group. And, I create a group for motherless daughters around Mother's Day, whatever. And it was called Unmothered Mother's Day. And I think the most eye-opening part of that and how I sort of got interested even more in the work and training was because there were women in the group that had very complex, confusing,
Yes.
um, very different relationships from the relationship I had with my mom,
Hmm.
and some that were estranged, some had mental health issues. They had
Yeah.
not really had the kind of mom that they had always longed for,
Hmm.
and then some that had what I had. And
Yeah.
it really was just, if you want to do this, you need to know more. That
Yes.
being a peer was lovely, but also I felt really called to the work. And
Mhm.
yeah, and in seeking what I wanted to do, a friend was like, "Oh, you should go talk to this shaman that I saw when she lives in LA." And she was like, "You should see her. She's coming to Chicago." And so I went to see her, and she said the biggest message was, your mom knows that you have gifts that she didn't foster, intuitive gifts that she didn't foster, and you need to really lean into those, which felt like an invitation to really connect with her in
Wow.
ways that felt intuitive to me, but not, I'm not a medium or any of that, but
Yeah.
it felt really interesting. But she sort of said, and you need to collaborate.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, what would that mean? And like
Yeah. What does that
driving
look
home on,
like?
yeah, driving home on Lakeshore Drive, and thought, oh, the very first podcast I had ever known was with Elena Brower. She had a beautiful, still does, beautiful podcast called Practice You. And I said, I'd ask Elena if I could be on her podcast. And just like your beautiful intake form at the very bottom, it said, is there anything else you wish us to promote? And I shit you not, out of my fingers came the memory circle. I had not searched it. I had not named it. I had not seen if it was like available free and clear on,
Yeah. Was it like
you know,
trademarked or something? Like,
exactly. And I like kind of shouted out to my girls, like, someone go on GoDaddy and see if it's like available. And someone go on Instagram. And it didn't have any weird hyphens or dot something else. And it
yeah,
was
yeah.
all in the free and clear. And by the time I was on the pod, the first event was in motion.
Oh
And
my God.
the place where I had booked it was a beautiful upcoming gathering place that had yoga and kind of spiritually minded events. And she got a call from one of her students that said, she's a medium, and she said, ask if she wants to collaborate.
Oh my
And I was
God.
like, come on. So I said, all right,
Get
well,
out of
I
here.
can't collaborate with this medium at a grief event if it's like a kook, a crazy person. I got to book an appointment and pay. And I had not seen a medium. It had been, decades. And my sister felt like it was very important for her to go. She went very, very early on in her mother loss, and it
Yeah.
really comforted her.
Me
She saw
too.
Jonathan Edwards in like his basement before he was Jonathan
No, I
Edwards.
was just,
Yeah.
that's crazy you mentioned Jonathan Edwards because I was literally, I think even doing a podcast yesterday with somebody and I had mentioned I saw like a video of him. This was later on in his career. It was more,
Yeah.
but he was explaining how like our loved ones, you can almost think of it as like a thin, like, if you're in the shower and there's like that thin, like clear
The clear
um,
curtain. It's
curtain, right? But
like a
you can see the
veil.
figure, but you can't see details.
Yeah.
They're that close. Like you don't
Uh,
have to
yeah. I
look and think
believe.
so far.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Bring him up. That's so
But it
funny.
really, I think because I don't know that I had never named it, but
Yeah.
because I felt her in some ways. I missed her
Yeah.
like hell, but I felt her in different ways. It never seemed like something
Hmm.
I needed to do. My sister was like, I need to know she's not at the mall. Like I need to have a conversation with her where like I know where the hell she is now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in sort of like that acceptance is not that it will ever be okay that we've lost our
It's like
people.
resignation. You're resigned to
Exactly, that you
it.
just you get to that point where you're like, whatever I need to do to know that they're not walking through the front door anymore and how I'm going to deal
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
That's sort of what she needed right out of the gate. And so it was really funny that I happened to see this shaman and then open the door to seeing Cindy. And we had an appointment, and I arrived and she was like, your mom's been here all day.
She's like, excuse me.
Yeah, she's been here all day. And
Oh
then
my God.
interestingly, at the very end, and I think why it took me so long, as cold as I was, and as many motherless daughters that were like sort of like tapping me
Excuse
to do
me. Like,
something with all of this, I think the story I told myself was, she'd be pissed if you defined yourself in any way
uh,
by losing me. Like I just
mhm.
thought she would not be good with that. But it really, I think now when I look back on it, that she knew me in all the ways she did. And
Mhm.
if I changed what I was doing, she would no longer know me as a writer and a publicist and
Yeah,
like all the ways she already knew me. It was almost
definitely.
like that would be lost, and how would she be proud of me, and like all these weird, things that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And at the very end, it was all like all the training you've done, like all the PR and all that, it will all serve you in this new work. She was very,
Yes.
very on board. And at the end of the session, Cindy was like, okay, we're going to like release your spirits and your guides and your mom and moving on and clearing for the next person that was coming for their reading. And she said, oh, wait, one more thing. Ellen wants you to know, don't make it sad. And that was always my fear. And
Yeah.
now I so often have people say to me that my work feels so hopeful. Like even my
Yeah.
web designer, she's like, you're pink grief, you're pink grief. Like she's,
Yes.
and I love that because
I
it's
do
almost like
too.
you've been through something so difficult, so hard, and people see like you're still here and
Mhm.
you've even made something out of it. Um,
Absolutely.
and kept her, like my kids feel like they know her, and so I
Yeah.
think that's the greatest gift. And strangers, because I write about her all the time, like she stars on many an Instagram post, and I write
Yeah.
about her all the time on my Substack. Yeah, she's
She's
a
alive
star.
and well.
She's
Just
a
not in
star.
a physical form here, perhaps, but
Exactly,
she's like, I'm not
exactly.
going down that easy.
No, no, no. And I've done a lot of things like that I have been curious about, collaborating with mediums, really leaning into ways of connecting with my mom that feel spiritual to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and keep her close. And also things that are like bringing her purse with me to theater. So like
Mhm.
instead of her missing out, or my daughter's college graduation, or a meal at their birthdays,
Mhm.
and doing things she used to do for me, for them. All of those things, I think, in total, help me remember her. I even order like takeout and my drinks in her name, because I think it's so
Yes.
fun to hear
I
them
started
say,
doing that every so often.
good for
Like I saw
you.
the idea, like to just get like Starbucks or something, in her
Yeah,
name. And I was like,
I do
oh,
it all the time.
yeah. Yeah.
But I crack up. There's a place in Hudson Yards. I love the bubble tea. And sometimes I'm like, she would crack up that like boba and the whole thing. Like I think
Yeah.
she
She's
would
like,
be
what
so
is
funny
this?
that they're like shouting Ellen while with a, hibiscus with boba.
Yeah.
But
It's like, what a different
yeah.
world. Oh
But
my.
I've seen, it was funny when I started to tell you about the medium, I noticed my clock was 444, and that's really one of my numbers.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. I've been
It was,
so on it with angel numbers lately. And 444 has been one of the 222 has always been a big one for me and my mom and stuff. But I'm seeing 444 a lot lately, which is crazy.
so when we moved from New York to Chicago, which I would never have done if she were alive, really. She wouldn't have let
Mm.
me leave New York.
Hmm.
We moved to Chicago. It was kind of like my middle finger to like, well, you're not here, so I get to go. And I wanted to just sort of, I thought I would, of course, leave my grief behind in New York City, and
Oh, that's
came
cute.
with
Yeah.
me.
No.
Yeah, came right with me. But I think what was so cool was the address where your work was taking us was 444 North Michigan Avenue. And after that, I just kept seeing it and seeing it and seeing it. It wasn't something that I had seen before we got to Chicago. So it became sort of like, you're on the right path. You're okay.
Wow.
I'm with you. Like this is a good thing. And then we moved away back to New York for 5 years, transferred back to Chicago. And my husband was like, you're
Favorite
not
place.
going to believe where the new gig is. And I was like, 444 back in 444 North Michigan. And I was like, this is crazy.
Whoa.
Um, I see it,
Ugh.
I see it at least once a day. It's on receipts, it's on license plates, it's everywhere for me. Truly, it's everywhere for me. I have a tattoo of it. Like it's everywhere for me. That and ladybugs were like big ones for me.
Yeah.
And then met a lot of Ellens as well. And I always thought that was so interesting to be in a room where there was Ellen. Now, the other day I was in a room where there was Ellen and Neil. My dad is Neil. And sometimes I think we miss some of the messages they have for us.
Yes.
I had a great conversation with another friend who's medium, and I was telling her some story about my daughter and I being in LA. And I was like, it was so weird. Like people in stores were like coming out and very enthusiastic, like, look at you too. And like, I was like, it was kind of weird. I don't even know why I was repeating the story to her.
Uh-huh.
She was like, don't you think that's Ellen? And I was like, oh, like I'd never thought of like messages coming
Right.
through others for me.
Oh, how
But then,
interesting. Yeah.
right? But then I started to really start to listen for those things.
Yeah.
And I've done medicine journeys. I'm all in. I'm like
Yeah.
all in whatever way. I was like, I want signier signs. I want like a vision, like
Yes.
I
I
come
am
stand,
ready.
yeah,
Give
come
me a full body
stand at the
apparition.
foot of my bed and make a big old apparition. Yeah, exactly. I was like, I need more. And it's so funny because she started to in my medicine journey, I got this message from her that was like, she started rattling off all the people in the industry that I have like trained with. And she's like, I brought you David, I brought you Claire, I brought you Hope, she started rattling off the names of all my training.
Oh my God.
And then she was like, I brought you all the Ellens and all the Janes. And I was like, this is wild. Like it was just
Yeah.
wild. And so a lot of things that didn't seem like signs, I'm like, oh my God, the woman must be exhausted, like
She's all up in
putting
your
all the
business.
putting all the people in my path. She is all up in my business. That was very her. So anyway,
Oh my
I
gosh.
I feel like that I did a really good job of. I
Mhm.
would say the one largest regret and my advice for anybody that has experienced loss of any kind, especially a mother,
Mhm.
is that I didn't really allow for any kind of remothering. I felt like anytime I was in a relationship with someone where it really felt like super nurturing,
Mhm.
like my hyper independence overrode
Oh,
all of it.
I so relate to that.
And
Yeah.
it's a it's a trauma response.
Yeah.
It's also, I think the nature of it really stems from the idea that like if I don't have her, then I'm gonna have to do everything on my own. And I
Yeah.
am and I felt capable.
Hmm.
But it created like some kind of like strength and resiliency that I got a lot of, pats on the back and high fives about
Yeah.
that, I didn't I got that, so I did it more. But what I wish
Yeah.
now and what I learned really late in the game was, you know, friendships and that nurturance that you can find in remothering, whether it's through mentorship or
Hmm.
borrowing your
Hmm.
friends' moms or
Yeah.
stand-in grandmas or
Yeah.
um, I needed it. I
Yeah.
needed it. And I would realize when I was in the energy of that a shame kind of would come up for me. Instead of like
Hmm.
being able to lean in, I'd be like, that's like kind of creepy, like that I feel
You're not
that
my
way.
mom, and like no one can do it like her. And oh God, I've had every thought under the sun
Yeah.
in that.
So it was like felt more like a betrayal and strange.
Yeah.
And I heard someone say it recently. We were on a retreat and a young woman said, look, not to sound ageist, but I'm one of the youngest here, and it has really felt so nice for all of these women she was pregnant when she showed up for the retreat.
Yeah.
And she was like, for all of these women to make sure I was like drinking enough and getting nice rest and really being here for me. And I told her afterwards, I was like, don't give that up. If
Yeah.
I could
Totally.
tell anybody anything about how to move forward in grief, I would say that's my the biggest regret. And it's not too late.
No, of course, never, of course.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
could have maybe just saved yourself a little heartache or just that. Yeah, the hyper independence thing. It is so real. And then you become a mom on top of it, and
Yeah.
it's highlighted even more. And then like those expectations are also just put on us from
Yeah.
everyone and their brother,
Yeah.
it's just society
Exactly.
too. And then
Yeah.
you we can isolate. We just it's
Yeah.
really
It was
it's
lonely. It
doesn't
was
serve
lonely.
us very well at the end of
And I had a
the time.
sister. So I think having had a sister and knowing we were in it together, she
Yeah.
was everything. Like
Yeah.
we were everything to each other. And I always say I'm the big sister, and it felt like a big part of my responsibility to make sure she was okay and mothered.
Yeah.
Um, my mom was at my wedding and she died before she was at my sister's wedding. And so
Mm.
I took my sister for her wedding dress and,
Yeah.
just those things you do. And it's not just those milestones, but it's, yeah, remothering. Like I want to write a
Yeah.
whole book about it.
That's a great point. We haven't really we've touched a little bit on that here, but I'm so glad you kind of dug into that because I think that's a very real and very like raw thing that so many of us like motherless daughters feel
Right?
or that we don't even like for me, I've almost like rebelled against any mother figure and I'm
Yeah,
just like you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know me. You don't know my mom. You don't know our relationship. Like how dare you kind of like it's just and I think too the hardest part for me is just like I love you, you're wonderful, but like you're not my mom. It's not the same. So I just
agree.
don't even I'm like, don't taint the waters. Like I just, you know what I mean? But
But I
like
think you
it's not
really can hold both.
replacing. It's you
Yeah,
can hold both. Exactly
yeah.
where I was going
I
with that.
I
Yes.
really, really think you can hold both, and I encourage it. And
Yeah.
and sometimes I, because I had experienced this loss, sometimes when friendships felt very nurturing,
Yeah.
I would mistake them for sort of like that shame of being like, well, I wonder if I should really need that in friendship. So friendship
Mhm.
became really confusing as well. I didn't really, I couldn't navigate the waters of what felt like that. So a lot of my closest friendships were the ones that felt sisterly in many ways
Mhm.
because that felt okay.
Right.
I
I
didn't
felt
know what,
safe. That felt
yeah,
acceptable. Like
yeah. But anyway, I don't talk about that much, but I think, I've seen it now where women are like, I don't know how to entertain and I feel really weird
yeah.
about having people over. I never learned that, or I never, there is somebody that there is another motherless
Mhm.
daughter that you can lean on that will
Yeah.
absolutely be there. And
Yeah.
I find it everywhere. There's like, and it doesn't always have to be someone who's older than you. Like there's a lot of
Mhm.
maternal energy out there that you can borrow,
Yes.
and feel really held in that. And
Yeah.
I notice when I feel that where I am and who I'm with. And I think being intuitive with that is
Yeah.
important.
That's so important. That's such a beautiful and impactful point. And I think it really is, again, just such a testament to having the right people around us and those that really add, fill our cup and whose cup we can fill too, right? It's
Yeah,
this beautiful energy exchange that, goes both
absolutely.
ways. But I would maybe want to come back to your mom, but I do want to shift to your dad as well, because as we were talking prior to coming on, you you have lost both, as you mentioned, but as we were mentioning, there's such a contrast between losing your mom as long ago as you have and then your father more recently. But I also want to touch on because he also had some memory loss for a
Yeah,
fairly
yeah,
significant time as well. And
yeah.
I would love for you to just, whatever you're comfortable sharing, shed some
Sure,
light on just that whole journey as well. Maybe we can
sure.
talk about the contrast of that and like
Yeah,
losing your mom a while ago and then dad. I just want to focus on your dad for a minute and also just acknowledge, losing your mother very suddenly and that like sudden loss versus, if you will, watching a
yeah,
cognitive decline. Those
yeah,
two things are very different. There's so much nuance that we could get into here. And
yeah.
again, I always say, it's not like one of those is better or easier than another. They're
No.
just different, just like any
I'm
other
just
losses.
I'm just learning to look
But
at them sort of as I would look at a client loss. Like I'm just sort
yeah.
of in my like investigator phase, really being able to. January 27 was just the 1 year anniversary of his death. And what I've been thinking about all year are the differences that even though he had memory loss, there were a lot of goodbyes. It was a very long one, but he lived with memory loss for about 10 years, and the four kids were his main caretakers, my siblings and I. He had two boys with my stepmom, and the like his all his things were like the Liner four, Gramsci four. He was always about his like the four of us, and I was like, it's a good thing he had a lot of us because we really rallied, and everybody had their own way of being with him that was so unique.
Yeah.
You know,
And
there was
needed
like
for him,
the
probably.
brother who's the stage manager, and he was very organized at everything, and like everybody just sort of had
Other
their
role,
way.
kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
had their role, and we're all how different we were and
Kind
are
of
with my
could show
dad,
up for him and
but how
yeah.
alike in bringing the celebrations to him. Like we really met him exactly where he was. We
Mm,
didn't spend a lot of time in the anticipatory grief. We really
yeah.
didn't. Like
Okay.
we we were sad for what we were missing for sure,
Hmm.
but we kept really showing up and meeting him where he was.
It's
We,
amazing. That's hard to do. Can I just say that? Like, it's so easy to get caught up in the anticipation of it, or
yeah,
like I talked about that with my parents' passings, and again being kind of close, like especially with my mom, because that was like my really first really big loss, if you will, and watching her health decline.
remind me
And
her name,
Lori and
Lori.
Greg is my dad.
Yeah,
And yeah, I don't think I always say that I've said this before, like I didn't realize it was anticipatory grief like at the time. I think I
sure.
actually was more present than because I also just refused to believe she was going to die from it. Like I'm like esophageal cancer is not taking my mom out. End of story, period. Until maybe like a week before or two before it actually did. So, but that's not the case for everybody. And I
I was
definitely had
more,
moments where I was worried in there, but I
yeah,
just
I was
kudos to you
more
guys because
sad. I was more sad that he was like an award-winning advertiser. He was like a madman. He was like this
yeah.
incredible, he worked on pharmaceutical advertising and these incredible campaigns on like breakthrough breast cancer drugs when I was like
Wow.
a real little girl. Like we would hear about these things and these innovations, and our kitchen table was like the brainstorm session, and we had like
So
AIM
cool.
toothpaste and tickled deodorant, like all these things that were like new and cool and had never been around before. And it was rare that we would hear about, a drug that did XYZ because we were, young.
Yeah.
But when they were breakthrough and he was working on, he would tell us like Breast Cancer Awareness Week was like an innovation that he worked on. And now when every birthday, my birthday's in October, and every birthday he would get me something that was sort of like a fundraising thing. We had like a long-standing like Ralph Lauren candle that gave back, and like
Oh,
we had these every year he would get me something from like somebody's pink collection.
yeah.
And um I thought he was robbed. Like I was sad that
Completely.
this brilliant mind was losing those later years that could be so delicious. He had
Mhm.
lots of good ones with his grandkids, but it was about from like 76 to 86 where really
Mhm.
we lost parts of him slowly over time.
Oh,
So
so
we didn't always
devastating.
recognize when things were lasts.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but we told him stories about himself. We told him, like, we never were like, you remember, like we just, and like I said, we brought the party to him. We
Yeah.
really did. We used to take him out, escape for lunches, and it was safe for him. It was really hard. We had also had very hard conversations with him before we had to move him to assisted living, which then became memory care. It was sort of all in the same facility.
Hmm.
But we used to say his Gramsci's house to all the grandkids, would call it Gramsci's house. And I think because we had had all of the conversations that we needed to have with him that were
Hmm.
really hard,
Yeah.
led by me, the oldest daughter,
Mm. Love
um,
that for you.
uh,
Always gets put on the oldest.
we were able to keep him in the house for as long as we could, which was his wish, until he couldn't. And it was really because it had uh, getting in and out was up and down stairs that became hard for him to navigate.
Yeah.
And without a car, he had few places to walk to. So it just became a place where he could also be more social.
Hmm.
And at first we thought it was awful. And we sort of saw this like second wind when he got to somewhere that had so many activities and people and conversations and talking. And so we sort of were like so proud of ourselves for finding that for him, a whole language that they spoke that we learned and leaned into. But there was so much we had to advocate for on his behalf. Like whenever he had to go to the hospital, we realized how talking to somebody with memory loss in the hospital system was not something learned. We learned that unless a hospital has a specialization, that there's not a lot of continuing ed in that particular area.
Yeah.
And so, and even elder care, which is surprising because you would think that there would be a lot of that at a hospital.
Yeah.
But we would literally have to like park ourselves in like the sleeping over chair
Oh,
because he really needed us to advocate for him.
yeah.
And we learned a lot. And I've shared so much. I've written essays about it and shared as much as I've learned. Like we used to use the whiteboard in his room, like call me Neil. I would say one of the saddest things that we didn't know, everybody called him Gramsci, like all our friends. He bought himself his own license plates that he used to buzz around in his little VW Beetle, and it
So
said
cute.
Gramsci. And we didn't realize that because they called him Neil, that would be what stuck. He would only and always answer to
Oh,
Neil.
so
And
you
I
guys had
think
to call him Neil.
we called him Neil, and we were not really the kind of kids that like called their dad by their first name. There's lots of people
No,
that do.
who
But
really
had we
does
known, we would
that?
have
As
had
yeah.
everybody call him Gramsci. Like we and
Oh
who knows if
man.
that would stick either, but
Yeah.
he answered to Neil. So we learned we would put everything on the whiteboard, and
Hmm.
we would introduce people to him and his needs and how best to communicate with him
Yeah.
and what we wanted for him. And he was a favorite, house favorite, and he was just so sweet and kind.
Oh.
I don't really think he knew he had memory issues. That was like the beautiful part when he no longer knew.
Yeah.
For a while he hid it from us and he was good at it. And then we found like it was like a beautiful mind at his house. We found like lists of all of our names. Like he was practicing all the grandkids and the kids. Like he didn't want to lose
Oh,
them, so
my
he kept writing all
heart.
of our names. I
I
know.
can't even deal. Oh my
So
God.
I felt so lucky. I mean, he was
Mm.
86, and
Yeah.
I had him for a really good long time, and I had him through all those years when I didn't have my mom, and
Hmm.
he he really made up for lots of what she missed
Hmm.
in showing up for the grandkids and knowing all the grandkids.
Yeah.
And I can't believe after I missed two guys. I missed the before he had memory loss, and
Yes. Great
I really
point.
missed the guy who I met along those 10 years. I really did. I
Mm.
got to know a whole other sweet him and a caretaker in me that I didn't know existed.
Yes.
And it brought me such a good grief when
Mhm.
he was gone. It felt so clean. I always use that term, clean grief. It felt so
Yeah.
clean. It just felt like there weren't regrets, only that he wasn't on the planet anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a terrible, terrible disease.
Yeah.
But he was mostly just so his Midwestern cheer came right through all the time. And there was just so much about it that, yeah, we did everything we could to make it as joyful as possible. And so
Mhm.
it's only sad that there wasn't more.
Yeah.
And he didn't deserve that ending, not that
No.
anybody does, but he taught us a lot. He taught us about presence. Like there was just those visits. Like I imagine all the times that like we could have been with him in different iterations or just going on with our life and never having all those visits and never having all that presence and really showing up in the moment. It was almost like a meditation of those
Mm.
years alongside him. It was really so beautiful.
Yeah. What a beautiful, I want to say lesson, just learning to walk away with, and then just to be able to apply to your present life. And I'm curious to hear from you, like now in motherhood myself,
Yeah.
the presence and those things, it definitely came up before I became a mother, but now, especially watching my daughter grow up now, and she's still so small, but you know how impactful those first two
Yeah.
years are. They just are different,
Yeah.
infant and then toddler, two very different things.
People. Yeah.
Yes, they are different people just in that. And so, there's a side of me now that's like, oh, I just want to slow down time and all the things. And grief has taught me that. It has taught like
Mhm.
don't rush to the next thing. Just we're human, life happens. Like, yes, we might rush some things, whatever, we get caught up in things, but
Yeah.
like, check yourself and like slow down and enjoy it. You never know when anything could be taken
No.
from you, your life, your memory,
Yeah.
like, and it's not that we need to live in fear of that. It's all the more
Right.
reason to just savor,
Yeah.
as best
It changes you in
it
those
does.
ways. And it sucks in all the big
Yeah.
ways. And it also has made so much meaning. Like I often wonder who would I be without that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I also wrote a lot of stories in my mind. I remember telling the therapist how sad I was that all the women had like their mothers come when they were going on vacation, and they would come to like a sing and dance class, and like all the other moms that I had met along the way. It felt like the whole world had a mother and I didn't,
Oh
and that
God,
they were all
yes.
swooping in and being so helpful and whatever. And my therapist was like, what you've told me about Ellen so far, I think she would say, buck up. Like, I did it and you can do it. And then I started thinking about it. Like, sometimes we also have magical thinking that there would be other ways and other ways that that the future would unfold. But
Yeah.
there's something really that I've looked back now, even though my mom was 50, I'm like, oh my goodness, if you could choose a way to go.
Yeah.
We were at Endwell and sharing a beautiful talk about what is the last sound you want to hear.
Oh, wow.
And I had never thought about it before. And they were saying like the sounds in the hospital are some of the most dissonant sounds ever, like all those beeps and
Yes.
all that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, my mom heard the ocean.
Oh, Barry. Oh my God.
And it had never, I
Wow.
have goosebumps. It had never occurred to me, but it was like,
Oh,
I know my dad heard all of his kids talking to him and his favorite music. So for him, we got to curate it.
quite a
Um,
quite a
and that
gathering,
was
quite a
beautiful
party. Yeah.
too. But I was just like, wow, maybe she would have written that. Like if somebody could have asked her, yeah, she was at her favorite place in the world. We found a receipt for way too many pounds of her favorite Santa Rosa plums, and there weren't any left in the bag. She had like one of her like trashy beach novels, and she was an avid reader, but she never brought a hardcover to the beach. You couldn't ruin your good books.
Of
So
course
she
not.
would always bring like a big fat trashy novel to the beach
Oh my
for
gosh.
a beach read, all her paperbacks, and she would plow through them like a magazine, like real fast. She was a real fast reader. And yeah, I just sometimes think about how beautiful it is now. And I don't think, in the moment we can ever look back, but with lots of perspective and sitting with lots of people who have lost loved ones now in my work and on retreats and hearing stories and weighing the sudden losses and even that and the
Yeah.
long arc of my dad's illness and living beside him and all of that, they're all heartbreaking and they're all heartbreakingly beautiful.
Yes. I was just like posting or thinking about posting or yeah, I think I did post something about that. I was like, how can something be so heartbreaking and so heartwarming at the same time? Isn't that
If you
incredible?
had told
Like,
me that, I'd give you the big fat middle finger, like
me too.
when I was first grieving, but it is the damn truth. And I
Yeah.
think, you do the bad grief math. I didn't do it today, but I think we're 33 years from my mother loss.
Wow.
And I know my dad's because I have a funny Neil Leiner story. When he was little, when we were little, had avid picture taker. We have no video, but he was like really about the camera.
Mhm.
And so it would take him so long to focus the damn thing. And he would always try to make us laugh and keep us in the moment. And he would say 1, 2, 7 to like try to make us giggle.
Yeah.
So it was none of us really thought about it that day, but he died on January 27. And one of my siblings said, oh my gosh, it was Holocaust Remembrance Day. And my dad's house, as we were cleaning it out, was so filled with his checks to the Holocaust Museum and Holocaust Remembrance, this and that. It was very important to him, but it was very quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And we found so much evidence of it. And so it was like so unbelievable that he happened to die in that day. We were exhausted. We all part ways. We go home. We're like, have all the plans for the funeral and whatever. And the next day we're going to get together. But everybody just like went home and went to bed. And I literally sat up like I had some kind of like crazy spirit take over my body. And I was like, oh my God, his final ad campaign, that man died on 1/2/7.
I love the story so much.
And
And
on
you're,
the
please show the
anniversary,
tattoo. Yes.
yeah, on the anniversary of his death, it's upside down. I don't know how to do it for you the right way.
Wait,
I got a 1/2/7. It's next to my 4/4/4,
I was wondering about that. Okay.
my tatted up arm, and my mom's signatures on the other side.
Oh,
They'd both
beautiful.
probably be horrified. And you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you can also find those little moments where you strike out in your independence because they are not here, and you get to do things like
I've
that
totally done that. Yes.
because you
I
can
have two
remember them.
tattoos in their memory, and my dad would be like, could you not do that to your body? Like they're not,
Your
I know they're not
skin.
impressed, right? They're not
Yeah,
like grateful that I marked my body. I think that
exactly.
came out in a reading once, actually. I was kind of, I think I had just gotten the one, and the medium was like, they like it. It's okay. Like
It's
your dad's
okay.
not jumping up and down. I'm like, that's on brand. Okay.
That's on brand.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was very on brand for Neil Liner to
Yeah.
send us like this final little. I felt like it was like
He's clever. He's
little
so
message.
clever.
He's so stinking clever. And
Oh,
then I had
good
texted
stuff.
my siblings in the middle of the night, and they all woke up to it, and they were like, "Oh my gosh,
You're like
that's
that
nuts."
guy.
Yeah,
That's
that
so
guy.
good.
We'll never forget. It's probably the least important, day of his life, but I think it's really kind of a clever thing. And when everybody that I tell the story to is kind of like,
How
and
could you not love that?
they won't forget either.
Oh, I'm
Like
never gonna forget that now. Are you kidding
so
me? I'm
many
gonna
people that know now were checking in with me. They were like, it's 1/2/7. Like I got
Oh,
so many texts and stuff remembering
so
that
cute.
I'm still, because it's still like year one, I just finished year
I
one on
was
the
gonna
20th.
say that's still very
Yeah,
new for you. I
it's
wanted
so
to
fresh.
ask you really quick as we kind of like slowly start to wrap up. Is there one thing in the, because again, year one with mom and that being long ago, like
Yeah,
that's got to feel much different. And it's a mother-daughter, right? Versus
yeah,
father-daughter
it
bonds,
is different
not one better, not one worse, just different. What is there anything you can identify that has been the hardest for you in this last
in this loss.
year? Yeah.
You know what? I did a really good job showing up for my grief. I'm really like, I joined a group.
Yeah.
I went to a writing
You're
class.
like, I did not mess around.
I did not. I
Yeah.
did what I tell others to do. I'm really proud of
You took
myself
your
for
own advice.
listening to
That's
my own advice. I don't often do that.
yeah.
Yeah, it is not the same living without that I had with my mom.
Sure.
Like there were so many formative years.
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
I feel so grateful for what he got to see, and maybe that's because it's in comparison to my
Mm-hmm.
mom.
Mm-hmm.
I think what's interesting now is like I also had a really super big birthday. I turned 60, my first birthday that I had after he died. And I
Yeah.
thought there was part of me that was like 27 turning 60. Like I
Mm-hmm.
had no parents in the world.
Oh,
And
yeah.
yeah, I felt like, God, you're supposed to be like that's like pretty much you're on your later years. And then
Yeah.
I started to think about that, like the bad grief math, like 10 years older than mom and
Mm-hmm.
only 26
Yeah.
to be as old as my dad was when he died. And I thought, get on it, girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's short. We're
Mm-hmm.
really here for a very limited amount of time.
Yeah.
And so it made me really think about like an ethical will. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think what's been hardest is sort of like my own mortality and
Yeah.
memory loss. Like thinking
Yes.
like what would I do? Like what would my messages to, I've had those conversations with my family already. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to do genetic testing. I don't really want to know if I'm living with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the what's the term?
The devil, you know.
Yeah, it's like it's sometimes just being blissfully unaware is like you
Exactly.
don't need.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to know, but we're like learning all about the best practices,
Yeah.
that we can do
Well,
for
you can do the
our,
preventative stuff. Like
yeah, and
I'm
I
doing the
do.
same with two people who had parents who had cancer. I'm
Right.
just doing
And
screenings earlier, and I'm like, listen, I'm
yeah,
not gonna. Yeah, I diet, I exercise, I do whatever, but I'm also not gonna live in fear that I'm gonna
no,
get that. You can't. I'm like,
no,
no, my parents wouldn't want me to. I'm not going there.
no,
Yeah.
me either. And so
Yeah.
I think that it's, it's, it's what's hardest is, of course, like, Neil Einer is no longer on the planet, and
Oh my
I
God.
miss his wise counsel. I think you don't know you're like in those last. And I would say my biggest regret is that he lost his dad when he was a very little boy. And
Mm.
knowing what I know now, I want to have an entire conversation with him about father loss. And
Yes.
I want to tell him what a great job he did and
Yeah.
how incredible. I mean, we never ended a conversation with either my mom or dad where we didn't say I love you. And the other tattoo I have that I can't show because it's way up here is he used to sign all his letters I love you more than the whole wide world, and sometimes just the initials of that. So I have that in his name, and I got it while he was alive so that I could show it to him all the time, and he to see if he would remember, and he did quite a few times.
Oh,
And he would also say, we'd say goodbye and we'd say, love you, Dad. And he would say, love you more through till almost the end.
oh, that really
Like the
stuck with
last, the
him.
last thing he said, I'm certain to me, is love you more, because that's how we always
Oh,
parted.
oh,
Yeah, I feel there's just, I don't know that I can name one
it's
thing
hard to name
except that
one. I know,
I
but
wish
just
I,
sometimes just their
yeah,
overall presence, the advice, the wisdom, the conversation. Like
yeah,
I would say that
and
about my parents too.
I wish I had talked more about his own father loss. My
Mhm.
grandpa Bernard I was named for him, and I know a lot about him. My dad shared a lot about him, but he
Mhm.
was such a little boy when he lost his dad. I'm curious to ask him, how did you know how to be such a good dad?
Yeah. Oh,
And then
just
I think, it's all packed in. It's all
yeah.
there. It's the same way I knew how to be a
The
mom. You
mom.
know,
Yeah.
it's in there. It's in there. It's deep in there. All the lessons and the values and the parts you get to do your way too.
Definitely. I was gonna say there's so much, empowerment and just following it, just making the next right decision, doing the next right thing that we can lean into as we
Mhm.
get older with our grief to, you realize as you get older, like life is, not gonna say nothing but choices, but there's a lot of choices before you, and you can choose to go one way with your grief, and you can choose to go another way with it. And, where you want to lean into and bettering yourself, having a good mentor, having good people around you, there's growth, there's post-traumatic growth, there's like all these
Yeah,
things that we can really choose choose to
yeah,
lean into and
true.
you
And
know
Claire Bidwell Smith calls that conscious grieving. Like
yeah,
we didn't choose any of these endings, but how we meet it is
yeah,
our choice. And I think
it's beautifully
between
said.
that concept and also continuing bonds, which
Mhm.
I'm all about, like she might not be here right now and he might not be here right now, but they physically,
But they're here right now, like
they are here. They're
yeah,
on this podcast, all of our
yes.
parents. And then sometimes I'll always ask the name when someone says, I lost my dad or my mom or
Yeah,
whatever.
the loved one.
Tell me their name. And someone called me the tell me your name person, girl. And I was like, that's so funny. But sometimes I meet someone really great like you, and we were all sitting in that circle. And I sort of imagine like our parents are all doing that too. All our
Yeah,
people are hanging out and having a
yeah, getting to know each
cookie,
other, and they're
cookie
yeah,
dinner on the
I
podcast.
love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I sort
Yeah.
of like, I always write them also when I'm on a plane. I think for a very
Mm.
long time in my mind's eye, that line outside the airplane window where sort of the
Yes.
sky meets the forever,
Yes.
whatever that
I'm never
line is,
gonna look at that the same way again.
that horizon line. I'm
Horizon,
like,
yeah.
that out there, that must be where my mom is the realtor and she helps everybody find their place. And
Oh,
now my dad's writing the ad campaigns for Heaven and Grief. And I'm like, he's out there
they're
doing the
tag
work.
teaming out there. They're like, I'll take this group over here. You go help them, like
Yeah,
shepherding people in. Oh my
exactly.
gosh.
And then I just imagine like so above as below, like
Yeah.
that is it. And that's where I write to them. Like I really like I'm like sometimes I put those little notes that I write in the sky on my Substack too, because I hope that it inspires people to continue to write to their people. Because I'd say that was transformational for me to not
Yeah.
just write about them, but
Mhm.
write to them.
To
It's
them.
been
Yeah.
really, really beautiful.
Yeah, I recommend that clients doing that sometimes too. It can be very helpful for people or starting an email and like sending them
Yeah.
emails or something. You
I
just
call
feel
them
like it's
hello. I call them
going.
hello again. Yeah, hello again letters because
Oh,
I
I love
think
that.
when
Yeah.
we can bring them into the small stuff,
Yeah.
like the day to day, like my mom knew the minutia. I have like a crazy, I think it's the only audio message I have because I'm so old that it was like the tape in the, old answering machine. But she's talking to me about like what I wore to the meeting and it was like, it's so indicative of like what our banter was always about. It was
Yeah.
like everything and nothing at all, but she knew the minutia. And so sometimes it makes me feel good when I'm like, oh, I wish I could tell her this, that my instinct is to do just that, to have a notebook or even a notes thing or even an audio thing where I mean, I'm old school. I love like moving my hand across the page,
Yeah.
but really bringing her into those moments and being like, just having an ongoing conversation with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my poor kids, wait till they come upon all the conversations that I've had with her so far.
Yeah. They're gonna be like, I know this whole other side to
There's a
her,
lot
and
of
now
journal,
you. And
a
oh
lot
my
of
God.
journals up in here.
Yeah, what a gift though. What a gift you're giving them. And I'm honestly so inspired by that. And thank you for saying that because I'm always looking for ways to bring my parents in that my daughter's never gonna meet them, right? So never
Right.
has, although I like to think they held her and met her and sent me her and did
Yeah.
all the things before she got
Yeah.
here. But know her here in the physical world, if you will. And so I'm always like looking for little ways. And my daughter will hear this podcast one day, and she's gonna read
Aw,
my writings too. And so there's
yeah.
something very beautiful and special about that. But I'm always looking for little, ways to kind of bring them into the fold. And it does
Yeah.
make it feel a little less overwhelming, their absence, and not be, that's always gonna feel a little bit overwhelming. But just the little meaningful ways that we can.
It takes time. And I would
It
say, I think
does.
because I was such a seasoned griever with mom that
Mhm.
I had this awareness the whole time of my
Yeah.
dad's illness that,
Yeah.
you know, that there would be an end and that we had a choice of really, thank goodness,
Yeah.
of how to make it really beautiful. I
Yeah.
mean, all four kids were there. I haven't had the heart to really write yet about the day, but it is so it's so beautiful. Like there's
Yeah.
just for all of us, there's just nothing we would have done any differently.
Yeah. Oh my God. And how many people can say that? Not everyone can,
I know really
whether they
want.
didn't get the chance or they couldn't bring themselves to do it or whatever the circumstances were. Like, what a blessing. Not that it makes up for him not being here, nothing like that, of
No.
course, but it's just a little something to hold on to. And you're like,
Yeah.
and for all of you to come together and work as a team like that, which I know I don't have any siblings, but I know there are people that have siblings, and that doesn't always mean that they're
I
helpful.
hear it
They're,
all the time.
you
Yeah,
know,
we're really lucky. It brought us closer than I can ever imagine.
Oh,
So I really am grateful. The line are four.
yeah. Oh,
he
what a beautiful way to end this conversation.
he made a good posse.
He did, clearly. You guys are, yeah, dream team. Such a dream team.
Ah,
Where can people find you? So I know you mentioned your Substack. I just started a Substack too. I'm literally
good for
getting
you.
used to it and all the things now. But I
Good for
I
you.
started all the things that I do with writing. So I
Yeah,
you love that you're a writer too, and just really
yeah.
coming back to my roots in that way. But so clearly you have a Substack, but you also, again, coach, like group coaching. So all the things. Where can
Yeah.
people find you, connect with
You're
you,
so
work with
sweet.
you?
So sweet. So I'm really at the Memory Circle everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's at thememoryrcircle.com, at the Memory Circle on Instagram. But my Substack is called Permission Granted with a caps grant. And I use that because I would most often hear, I feel like you gave me permission to.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, you don't need mine. It's an invitation, but
Yes.
you have it. Like
Yeah.
there's lots of knowing. And so
Yeah.
I share
Sometimes you need
there.
that from people. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
sure. You're just like, I know you're not asking for this, but like genuinely, it really does help to have someone just say, I see you. And
yeah.
in case you need this today, here's your
In case you
invitation. I
need
love
it,
that.
here it is. So
Yep.
yeah, so that's where all the writing lives, and it funds a space for anybody who it's available to everybody, but I do have a paid subscription, and the paid subscriptions go to help somebody come with a free or subsidized to a group because I really believe
Oh,
everybody
that's so
deserves to have free
nice.
support. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's always somebody in my group that has a scholarship, full or partial.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, what an amazing way to give back. Because I'm so with you on that. And I think that's a lot of us people in the grief space and grief work. It's just, charging for that. I know
It's
so many
hard.
of us feel
I know.
conflicted about that because it's like we would love to help everyone for free, but also we
Yeah,
need to live.
we do.
Hi, I need
We
food.
do.
So it's just, but that's just such a, again,
So
just a
it's just
beautiful way
one
to give
piece.
back.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's just one piece of the work. So if
Yeah.
you and we'll have to recommend each other. So that would be really fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, I would love that. This is such a beautiful and enlightening conversation.
Oh, thank
I was
you.
literally usually at the end of my like conversation sometimes with people, I'm like, okay, what else has helped you? Or what's one like word of wisdom or something? You have given so much. I almost like didn't
Oh.
even need to like you really just along the way, there have clearly been things that have very intuitively, I think, too, really have come to
Mhm.
you to help you cope with your grief. And if you didn't find it, you created it yourself. And like, hi, how powerful is that? Like
Oh.
Ellen is, I know, and your
I'll take
knows
it.
you. Yeah, they're
And also
applauding you.
I'm here. The remothering is always free.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Okay, don't offer that. I'm gonna hit you up and be like, I need some advice.
I'm here. I'm here. I really think that
What do I do
that
with
is,
this daughter of mine? She's driving me
yeah,
crazy. I need This was amazing, Barry. Thank you
what a
so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.